Turn it up. It's The Record Machine with your host, Jimmy Howell.
You know when to get close and when to stay away.
You know how to bring the sun to my darkest days.
You know just what turns me off and just what turns me on.
Like the way you call me baby and hold me all night long.
It's those little things that make my heart melt. Everything that you won't find in a fairy tale. It's what wakes me up and puts me to bed. Looking back, I know I'm blessed. It ain't white picket fences, fancy cars and diamond rings.
It's those little things.
You know how to cook like my granny did. How to leave a trace of lipstick on my lips.
You know just what turns me on, just what turns me on. Like the way you dance with me and lead me down the hall.
It's those little things that make my heart melt. Everything that you won't find in a fairy tale. It's what wakes me up and puts me to bed. Looking back, I know I'm blessed. It ain't white picket fences, fancy cars and diamond rings.
It's those little things. The dimples in your cheek,
The softness of your skin, still feel like those crazy kids.
like where it all began. It's those little things that make my heart melt.
Everything that you won't find in a fairy tale. It's what wakes me up and puts me to bed. Looking back, I know I'm blessed. It ain't white picket fences, fancy cars and diamond rings.
It's those little things.
Oh, I love those little things.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome country recording artist Pamela Hopkins to the program. How you doing, Pamela?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you calling from?
Arkansas. Yeah, I'm fighting a little bit of the sniffles this morning because of the snow. I'm allergic to it. We had like 10 inches outside.
You got a lot, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's supposed to dump more today or tomorrow, I think. Yeah, we got 10 or 12 inches.
Now, you grew up there your whole life?
No, I actually grew up in Little Rock, so I came from the big city.
Oh, okay.
Comparatively.
Nice. And you started singing and playing the cello and piano at a young age. Did you know then that you wanted to be involved in music for the rest of your life, or was just kind of a hobby then?
I got out of music back when I was 21 and only did like karaoke. And then for 20 something years, I just, had a family and, raised my kids and, all that good stuff. And I guess I finished college first and then, got a career. I was a police officer for a while and, had started having kids. And then about 8 years ago, I was like, I want to get back into music. And now that's what I do.
Yeah, because I noticed in your bio, it says in 1995 that you put out your first album. And then
I did.
You didn't do anything for almost till what, 2018? You started releasing singles again, right?
Right.
So during that time, I'll assume that you were working in law enforcement. And then it says that you were also involved in teaching as well, huh?
Yeah, I have a master's degree in education. Yeah.
Wow. So how do you go from being in law enforcement to teaching?
I was in law enforcement for, 13 years, and I got promoted. Now, during that 13 years, I was a DARE officer. So if you're familiar with DARE is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was in the schools as a resource officer for 9 of those years. And during that time, I got promoted to sergeant, and they put me back out on the street and to do patrol. And they had me on the 2 in the afternoon to 10 at night shift, 2 to 10, 10:30. Well, I never got to see my kids, and they were little. And basically, I did that for 13 months. But about 9 months in, I was just like, my heart's not here anymore. They moved me out of the schools. I took the promotion, because that's what you do. And it doesn't look like I'm moving off the shift anytime soon. So I just talked to my husband and said, do you mind if I go back to grad school? I really miss being in the schools and kind of being on a normal schedule. And he was like, yeah, sure, go for it, And I got my graduate degree and taught at the same time. I did a non-traditional license and taught for 5 years. And then my parents got sick, and I was deciding at that time that, music was calling me again. And we went to a little piano bar here, and I talked to one of the players, and I was like, hey, I sing. And I had gotten up and sang, and he was like, wow, now you can sing. I was like, well, thank you. And I said, I kind of play piano. And he was like, oh, I said, I'd love to get into this. How do I do it? And talked to him after the show, and he was like, well, learn 30 songs and come back and see me. And I was like, okay. So like 6 months later, I came back with, 25, 30 songs, and he let me start to get up on stage and, sit in for free. Yeah, you just do that for about 6-8 months. And then finally, enough and get enough stage experience that they go, okay, would you like a part-time job? And I was still teaching. So I would work 1 or 2 nights a week, and you just get better. And then they finally were like, look, we would love you to go full-time. And so I went full-time. And after a few years of doing that and getting my feet wet and just being able to perform on stage and sing and play at the same time and interact with the crowd, I was like, what do I sound like? I'm doing everybody else's covers.
Right.
What does Pamela sound like? And, you reach out to writers and kind of pick songs that talk to you. And that's what my first EP was, except the one song that I actually wrote, which was from my experience when my husband was in Iraq. Other than that, I chose other writers' songs and did, there were unreleased songs. And I did one cover and released that EP. And then I started writing myself more. And so that's what this next bit of songs that I'm doing. I've released 5 so far since last June, and 3 out of 5 are songs I wrote, or co-wrote with somebody. And so then my next 5 after this are all songs that I've co-written. So it's just kind of been a development as I've, gone on.
Now, your current single, Little Things, with Matt Dame, that's hitting the charts pretty well. It's getting high praise all over the world. Can you talk about that song a little bit?
Yeah. So here's I guess a kind of a funny story or interesting story about this song. I had this idea probably close to a year ago. And so I keep song ideas in my phone as I'm, going, song ideas, story ideas, whatever in my notes in my phone. And I was like, I really want to do a duet. Well, I had talked to a couple of my, my buddies about it that sing, and they were all like, oh yeah, let's write it. But nobody would ever sit down and write it with me. And I was like, I ain't got time for this. I ain't got time for this. I got things to do. I got my mind that we're going forward. So if I reach out to you and you're like, oh, okay, but you never want to schedule a date, I'm moving on. I got somebody else I can talk to.
Gotcha.
And I had a couple of my buddies who had over probably the last 2 years asked me if I knew who Matt Dame was. And I was like, no, I've never heard him. They're like, I'm surprised because he was a police officer. And I was like, well, we don't all know each other. Like there's hundreds of thousands of cops. We don't all know each other. And it's been a while since I've been in. And they're like, oh, well, he's been in Nashville, 15, 17 years or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't guess I knew him. They were telling me he had started about the same time I did back in 98. I think he started in 99, but he worked for a different city. And so I ended up, they said, well, he can sing and he moved to Nashville. He's really good. So I looked him up, on iTunes and looked up some of his songs. And one of my favorite songs that he sings is Whiskey and Memories. And so just fell in love with his voice and found him on Facebook, sent him a message and said, hey, I had a couple of people ask me if I know you. Obviously I don't. I'm Pamela. I was in law enforcement and I'm a singer-songwriter and I would love to write a song with you and perform it as a duet. I love your voice. And he was like, sure. Yeah, let's do it. And then he came back to me and he said, hey, he goes, so do you know, I think it's his cousin, if I'm not mistaken, but he had his cousin who's also a law enforcement officer, I guess, come in and see me play, who has also talked to me about him, which I didn't know they were related. He said, yeah, because my cousin was telling me I needed to meet you, that you could really sing.
Wow.
And I was like, well, isn't that something? Match made in heaven here. Here we go. All right. So we got a date on Zoom, and it was, he asked if he could bring in a buddy of his named Trafton Harvey. And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. I don't care. And I sent him my notes on the song. So I knew I wanted it to be called Little Things. I knew the storyline behind it. And when we wrote it, I had the things in my head, in my list of things, my brainstorming things of what a woman would love about a man that keeps them with them.
Right.
And I said, but I can't speak for a guy. So I need your input. I'm not a dude. And he was like, sure. So I sent him my list, and him and Harvey kind of looked at it. Him and Trafton, I called him by his last name, sorry. But he had his guitar out, and we're Zoom, on a Zoom meeting. And probably within an hour and a half, hour and 40 45 minutes, we had the song written completely beginning to end.
It's a beautiful
He did
song.
he did a little, I guess, work tape for me and emailed it over to me. And when I went to Nashville, or Franklin, right outside of Nashville, to work with Off the Row Studio, are my producers, PT Houston, went there and started my next 6 track. And he met me over there since he's already, in Nashville. And that was the first time I'd ever met him face to face.
Wow.
And we did our cover photos together and sang the song and probably had it done within an hour. And there you have the product. There you go.
That's a great story.
Right. And like I said, I love his voice. And it was just one of those, I was like, okay, that's my duet partner right there. That's him.
Will there be a full-length CD this year?
It won't be coming out. It probably will not be coming out this year because the way that Off the Row likes to do their songs is they like to, you record 4 at a time. So the first 4 that I recorded with them was in May, and the last one released in December. They like to release them, especially as an independent artist, 1 at a time, so that you're constantly relevant. You get enough of them and you compile them into a CD, or whatever. So yeah, we will be pressing a CD. I've got 5 songs already released. I've got 5 more, possibly 6 that will release throughout this year, and maybe the very first part of next year. And I'll, press those in a CD, and so I'll have a full length album by the time it's done.
I've noticed on your YouTube page you have quite a few videos. Will there be a Little Things video at some point?
Yeah, so, yes, we were supposed to actually have filmed it last week for it to deliver and be released on Valentine's Day, but we had snow and ice, and so we can't shoot anything, so it's postponed. Probably we were going to do it this week, but now we've got 12 inches, of snow on the ground, so it'll probably be postponed another couple of weeks, but it will not have Matt in it. He has chosen to elect out of video production. We had an idea, and we were going to drive to him. He's in Muscle Shoals now, and he decided, he was like, yeah, I'm a studio person. I would just rather not be in a video. And I said, okay, well, we had to figure out a way around it. So we had some other ideas that we're going to have different couples in the video, doing some different things that will kind of depict what the meaning of the song is. So hopefully next week or the week after, we will go into video production and release that shortly thereafter.
That would be pretty cool if you could just get like random couples to like kind of maybe lip sync the lyrics to each other. You know what I mean? That's what
we're thinking about.
I've seen that done before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If you don't want to be in the video, that's one way of solving that issue, right?
Yeah, right. So I've got probably, I think, 7 couples that have agreed of different ages, ethnicities to sing it to each other, or to, kind of act out part of what's going on in the video as they sing it to each other. So you'll see some of my close friends in there, and I think my husband and I will make an appearance as well. So
that's awesome. Now I love that video, Cranking Up Crazy. I think that's a great song. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So that particular song, and Somebody Here's Walking, was written by Jim Femino, which he's a pretty famous writer, by the way. He's out of Nashville. He's been in Nashville for a very long time. But he wrote James Otto's Just Got Started Loving You, which was #1 in, I think, 2008. Mm-hmm. And he wrote for Toby Keith for a long time. And he writes with Pamela and some other major acts. But I met with him, about a year ago. And here's another unique story for you.
Awesome.
Met with him about a year ago. Yeah. Went to Nashville, and I was interviewing Off the Row Studios to see who I wanted to work with on my next project, that's who I went with. And my mom and I drove to Nashville last January and met with some writers to look at some songs, because I was writing, but I didn't know if I was going to have enough completed by the time I wanted to go in the studio and start recording again. And met Jim for the first time face to face, and he had just had heart attack number 5, I think.
Wow.
And he was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to make our meeting. We're supposed to meet at lunch. And I was like, is everything okay? And he was like, well, I think they're going to put me in the hospital because I think I just had heart attack number 5. And I was like, great.
Dang.
Just my luck. And it wasn't even really, going to talk about songs. And I was like, well, and because he's an older man. And I was like, if you don't have, I knew his wife wasn't, in town. I said, if you don't have anybody to visit you, I'd love, just to come and meet you face to face. Because, we had spoken a little bit. He was like, well, let me get settled in the room and find out out what the plan is. And, I'm fine with that. And I said, okay. And so he calls me back and he says, come on, and I get in there and I'm in his room probably a couple hours, and he picked 10 or 12 songs to me. And I ended up with 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
One was Cranking Up the Crazy, that was written by him and Janae Fleenor. She's a violin player for a major country act. I cannot remember which one off the top of my head. And then Somebody Here's Walking, which just released in December.
Another good one.
Yeah. He's an amazing songwriter. But I loved the fun feel of Cranking Up the Crazy. And so when I decided to do that, when I was like, this is a summer release, this is one that's just a fun, get your drink in your hand, go get in the boat and just have a good time. So when we shot the video, Sharp Dunaway, who's my videographer here locally, we had this idea, and my neighbor, her name is Whitney, she's like, well, hey, we can use my dad's farm, blah, blah, blah. And we set everything up, had this idea, the truck with the pool in the back of the truck, the dancing, all this stuff.
Right.
Well, if you notice in part of the video, it says Pam Cam.
Right.
And I'm okay. If you slow that down and you look at each frame, you will see me fly off of the slide and hit the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, that was not. The good thing is that was the last scene that we had shot for that day, because I was done. I had hit the ground so hard I thought I broke my elbow. I had a bruise the size of Montana on my left leg. I mean, it was huge, and I was bruised up. Slapped my face on the ground. It was not, but it made the video so funny now to me.
Mm-hmm.
But and of course, I got up and they're like, "Well, she's a trooper." But yeah, everybody at the time, because they had everybody's cameras going.
I bet
they had the drone going. They had me with
every angle,
all these angles, every angle. And as soon as I hit the ground, of course, I did not let go of the GoPro. It was still in my hand.
That's funny.
And of course, everybody runs over like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I mean, everybody's like, and I was like, you're getting old when people stop laughing when you fall, and they just like, did you break something?
Right.
My kids were laughing their butts off.
I'm
all
sure.
The adults came running over to me like, "Are you okay?"
That's a funny story.
Right. And of course, my hair was all on my face. Now, this is the funny thing about that story. That was the second time I had gone down it. First time I went down dry. I was in my clothes. I was dry. It was a water slide.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I was dry, so I didn't get the air that he wanted me to get, because he wanted me to pop up and then back down on the, on the slide.
Right.
What happened was I was wet, and I had lotioned my legs earlier because, I had shorts on.
Okay.
And water and lotion. It made for a... made for a launch pad, because then my legs were a little slick. I was wet the second time already, so I just went right on down and right on over it. And so at the very end of the video, you see that's me and my friend. It's a still picture. That's me up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's when the credits are rolling, you'll see that's a still picture of me upside down.
Yeah, I love that song. I think it's a fun song, and the video is really cool. I figured there was a good story behind that.
Oh yeah, that's it. I probably thought I broke a few bones, but it was fun. The good thing is I had been drinking that day a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What were you drinking?
Trulies, and I usually, I'm a shot person, but they had those and they were super cold and it was hot out. I mean, it was hot outside. It was 110 degrees outside.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, we shot it July 12th. I mean, it was hot. Probably redid my makeup that day, probably a minimum of 8 or 9 times, because we would go out and shoot and my makeup would just literally melt straight off my face. And he'd be like, okay, you got to go back inside, fix that. Because as soon as I would take my glasses off, it had made like a mark, my sunglasses. And of course, my band was ready to kill me because they were burning up. And I was like, I'm so sorry, guys.
Like, let's get this over with.
Right. I mean, the rest of us were having a good time, because they shoot little parts at a time. So he'd shoot a little part and he'd say, okay, y'all go get the shade, or go in there's like kind of like a little band house that was there that had like snacks and stuff, and, for everybody to cool off. And we ordered pizza and we made a day of it. And it was a fun day. Like, everybody was happy to be a part of it. And my next song that's coming out, which is Giving a Damn, Don't Go With My Outfit, is going to be probably a big video release.
Oh, okay.
It's going to have a lot of my friends in it like that.
When can we expect that?
That was going to be late April, early May.
Okay.
So we're going to let Little Things run a little longer since it just released, and then we're going to do a big promotion around that one, because it's kind of a country rock song, but it's a pretty, can I say the bad A word?
You can say whatever you want.
There you go. It's a pretty badass song. It's one that I co-wrote kind of from some personal experience, but yeah, it's called Giving a Damn, and then in parentheses, Don't Go With My Outfit, which I know isn't grammatically correct, but that's how you sing it. So it's like I said, it's a badass song. It's probably one of my favorites that I've written.
Did you write Little Rock Famous?
I did.
That's about you, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I co-wrote that one with P.T. Houston and Aaron McCaffrey. So P.T. Houston is my producer and his wife. So
I love that song too. You got a lot of great songs, and I'm glad that you made it back to music again.
Well, me too. I've never probably been happier in my life as far as career goes. I mean, I loved being a cop. I loved being a teacher, and in those seasons in my life, that was where I was supposed to be, and that's how I feel about the journey I've taken. When I was 19, it just wasn't my time. I wasn't ready, and I probably wasn't mature enough or knew what to do enough, and felt really taken advantage of back then when I was in Nashville, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't like this. I enjoyed performing and I enjoyed singing, but I didn't like business side of it. Whereas now I've got my feet under me. I'm a little smarter, a little wiser. You have the internet, so you can actually research people and look at reviews, and it's probably easier in some ways to scam people, but it's harder as well if people will do their due diligence and their research, when they're choosing who to do business with.
Right. Do you have any shows coming up?
Well, I perform every week here in Arkansas at a place called Willie D's because I'm a dueling piano player.
Okay.
And that's my steady job. And then my band and I book, as we can. Of course, the pandemic hit. So we did a few shows last year. We have the next show that I'm booked for right now is May 22nd with my band here in Little Rock. And then we're doing a music festival in Newport, Arkansas on June 4th.
Nice.
We're the headlining act that night at 6 o'clock. So, and it's like an all-day music festival Friday and Saturday. So we're the last act on Friday, and then I'll be back at Willie D's on Saturday. But I'm every Friday and Saturday, unless I ask off, I'm at Willie D's here.
That's pretty cool. Now, do you have a website you'd like to promote?
Oh, I do. Yes. It's www.PamelaHopkinsmusic.com. Pretty easy.
Any final thoughts before we go?
Not really. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time and interviewing me and letting me speak about my music. That's great. I so appreciate every opportunity I'm given to be able to share my thought on my life experiences and get my music out and hopefully invoke some type of emotion in somebody, whether it's love or anger or happy. Drinking song, whatever it is. If it's healing for you, then I'm happy about it.
Pamela, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I wish you the best of luck with all your music in the future. And I hope to hear the little things on the radio down here someday.
Well, me too. I hope it's playing everywhere. I want to go into a grocery store and hear it playing. That would be nice.
That would be great.
Thank you for taking the time and letting me chat with you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and I'd love to have you back on again someday.
Yeah, let me know. I'm game.
Alrighty. All right. Well, you take care now.
You too. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bone, chicka, bone, bone, chicka, bone, bone, a bone, chicka, bone, bone, a bone, chicka, bone, bone, chicka, bone, bone, a bone, chicka, bone, bone. Shades on, boots off, kicking back on my front porch. Summer heat, a cold drink. Everybody needs a little breaky break. Yeah. Living large in slow motion. I got a yard, hell, who needs a notion? And he's sitting there in his sexy tan lines in a long chair next to mine, cranking up crazy. Just me and my baby. Getting a little sideways. Just cranking up crazy. Radio playing low. Now hold up, it's getting out of control. We might just sit back and take a nap. Like my blue tick red, yo, he rolls like that. Yeah, he might boot scoot later tonight. Throw it back, neath the neon lights, until that sun sets in the sky. We'll be rocking out and wasting time, cranking up the crazy. Just me and my baby. Get a little sideways. Just cranking up the crazy. I crank it up now. Bone chicka bone bone chicka bone bone. A bone chicka bone bone. A bone chicka bone bone. bone, chicka bone bone, a bone chicka bone bone. Everybody now, bone chicka bone, chicka bone bone, a bone chicka bone bone. On the left now, bone chicka bone, chicka bone bone, bone chicka bone bone. Cranking up crazy, just me and my baby, my baby. Get a little sideways, just cranking up crazy, Bone chicka bone bone, chicka bone bone, a bone chicka bone bone. Bone chicka bone bone, chicka bone bone, bone chicka bone bone. Y'all come on now. Bone chicka bone bone, chicka bone bone, a bone chicka bone bone. Everybody sing bone chicka